Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to another video. This is a video that I've been meaning to record for a while now. A couple months ago, I was talking with Space Dog on Discord about different topics for different videos, and he asked me if I could do like an overview of how copyright changed throughout the years and the demo scene perspective. And more recently, I've been approached by a Kokboluk editor to submit him an article. I thought I could make this a 1-2 with it, write an article about it, and at the same time make a video reading the article and giving some extra information on some parts. So this is what I'm going to talk about, the copyright evolution in the demo scene, especially regarding music, because I'm a bit involved in the musical aspect of the demo scene. Well, I'm involved in all aspects of the demo scene, but I have a net label in particular, so I'm a bit more inside that aspect of the demo scene than, let's say, graphics. Anyways, a while ago someone asked me if I thought the relation of demo scene with copyright had changed throughout the years. The obvious answer is yes, and but in what ways exactly? Let's do a quick demo scene history tour and try to figure out the answers to these questions. So demo scene started from the cracking scene, kids copying discs. When the discs were copy protected, someone had to crack the copy protection. These people would announce themselves as the crackers of the product with a small intro that they played before the game would be shown, typically having a logo of the group, some small visual aspects, and a scroller with some text information about the release and who cracked it. It's fair to say that not many people cared about copyright in the scene back then. Everything was pirated, everything was free. Not many people bought the original games or cared to bought about the or cared to buy them, and also they didn't care about using each other's assets. Late 80s, early 90s, the artist side of these cracking groups started to distance themselves from the illegal side of things. We started having demo parties with art competitions instead of the so-called copy parties, where people just swapped discs of copyrighted stuff. It was common for some less talented demo sceners to rip music and graphics from other demos or games and use them on their productions. Ripping in this case means to disassemble a production, grab the assets that you want from there and repurpose them in your own production, often not crediting the original source at all. So it was common to see fonts getting reused from demo to demo, and some people complaining about that, or samples getting reused, a lot of those kind of things. Reusing or remixing music was also quite common. In fact, tracked music was one of the earliest structured ways to exchange music between people. There were many different tracked music module formats popularized throughout the years: Sound Tracker, Pro Tracker, Scream Tracker, Fast Tracker, Impulse Tracker, more modern ones as well: Jazz Club Buzz, OpenMMT, Renoise, Kism, Sunvox. There are a lot of trackers. The main thing is that tracker was a relatively open format, is that you could just open it in the tracker and see everything there. It wasn't DRM'd in any way. Although some tracker formats did not have like the code source available to them, but overall you could play them and you could see it and you could take things from it and reuse them for your own. Tracked music had a specific format, the smallest possible to be able to fit on discs and be swapped around by either snail mail or BBSs. So people were focusing on doing small music. You had a list of audio samples, which were the actual sounds instruments, and the patterns, which kept information on when each sample was played. Creating original samples was not in everyone's budget. Sample packs were very popular and commonly swapped around and traded. Using other people's samples was also quite common. There were no copyright laws in effect stopping you from doing this, but some people would get upset when others would use their samples or remix their tracks without their permission. A lot of tracks were completely stolen, just changed the name of the author and re-upload it. Sometimes to get popular, you thought you could get away with it. Sometimes just to get the upload credits that you needed on these BBS systems. You couldn't just download everything. You needed to upload something to get some credits to be able to download something else. So you needed new things to upload all the time, and just changing the name on some files and re-uploading them seemed to be a smart thing to do until you got caught, of course. The scene itself would report these things, and the perpetrators would be considered lame and eventually banned access from BBSs and even live events. Demoscene sampled a lot from commercial music. Most Amiga demos of early 90s have soundtrack sampling or remaking from some commercial track. To this day, a lot of old school platforms like the Commodore 64, the Atari, or the Spectrum still use chiptune cover songs of famous commercial music on some of their demo soundtracks. A lot of them use original material, but there are always like a cover or two hiding somewhere, which can be hard to detect because you need to know the original very well and see that it's a cover. A lot of the pixel artwork from these days are also referencing some Boris Vallejo image or another. There's a very good website about this, cameli.net/nocopy, lists the Demoscene work and the original place where it was referenced from. This was really common back then, and you can argue that it's a bit of artistic thing or a work thing to have to retrack the whole track, resequence the whole thing, making a cover instead of it's not a copy, it's a cover. And same thing for the pixel, where you had to pixel the thing, so it will still work. You just had a reference material that you were using, and you were using that. But a lot of artists even had a no copy logo or claim in the bottom of their artwork when it wasn't referenced from anything to give them extra votes at competitions. On the late 90s, the internet became more accessible than BBSs. The trading of files would now happen through message boards and access to private FTP sites. Cracking and pirating of games and software was still happening, but copyright was something that people were starting to be aware of and mildly trying to respect. Most countries were heavily enforcing new software copyright laws that came into effect in the late 80s, and these were mostly made to support software developers, but it ended up affecting Demoscene stuff as well. Shareware became a thing with some degree of success. Some Demoscene productions still used ripped assets, reusing music and samples from each other, sometimes even using commercial music. See, for example, the VIP2 Invitation and State of Mind demos are the first examples that come to my mind. These demos were met with some criticism for using commercial music, condemning the creators for not using original content, and questioning the fairness of having these demos compete against other in the same competition. And some were using commercial music, others were not, so they had like an advantage of some sort. Most of these demos just wanted good music to make a demo out of. So, you know, it's complicated. Anyways, more on that later. High-speed internet allowed peer-to-peer systems to become popular. Napster getting sued by Metallica was a very good example. The music industry refusing to go digital, choosing to go after the consumers, suing them, using more DRM on their CDs instead of being open. It didn't work very well for the music industry in that regard. Pirate Bay and copyleft movements became a lot more popular because of this. Or to go against that, but it did bring more awareness to the issue. It got copyright agencies throughout the world, talking about GEMA, SACAM, Tiesto, etc., to become more strict on events that had music in them of some sort. So bigger size Demoscene events, such as Assembly, no longer accepted or started disqualifying entries that had not cleared copyright permissions of material to use. They wanted you to use completely original works only. A couple good examples of this: Melon Designs I Feel Like a Computer, who won the competition, or maybe got second place, I'm not sure anymore, at Assembly 2003, and then they got disqualified because the music sampled some commercial music. Another example was in 2005, the demo Barn by the Digital Artists. They wanted to submit it to Assembly. They couldn't get the music cleared because no one from the label would reply to their emails. So they were refused from participating at the Assembly. They released it at Inertia because at Inertia we didn't care about copyright. We just play the stuff on the big screen. And it ended up winning a lot of demoscene awards for its innovative concept and design. Melon Designs, I feel like a computer, also got some nominations for some scene.org awards at the time. So these are a couple of examples of demos that use commercial music in some form, but they do it in a way that people still respect the output of it, if that makes any sense. And there are quite a few examples of that. So copyright is not just black and white. There are some grays in there where things should be allowed to have a reuse of some sort, but copyright would be too strict to allow it. Anyways, events in other countries also risked paying copyright fines if they played any commercial tracks at demo parties at all. Talking about Breakpoint, Revision, Evoke, mostly in Germany, because they had GEMA having this very weirdness. Some demo parties to this day still do not accept entries by artists registered in GEMA, because even just having one track of an artist registered in GEMA, you would have to pay a special license. These licensing schemes were thought for getting money out of commercial music festivals when they were put together. They did not have demoscene art events in mind. They didn't even know what the demoscene is. Luckily, we had some legal support, mostly by NetPoet, who did a lot of research into this topic and helped a lot of these German parties figure out a way to deal with this with GEMA, so that they wouldn't have to pay these ridiculous fines that it would make the demo party unviable for a lot of these smaller parties. Meanwhile, a lot of independent artists felt underrepresented by copyright collection agencies. Most of the copyright collection agencies charge you to register your tracks. They do not pay you properly. They do not operate transparently. You don't see anything. You yourself have to go tell them where your music was played in order for you to get paid. They claim money from events that you are playing or organizing yourself, and they favor payments to big selling commercial artists, stuff that gets played on the radios and that is on the best selling lists. It's not a valuable resource for what is referred to as an unknown artist. In the midst of this, we had a bunch of new music platforms being created. mp3.com was one of the earlier precursors. Then we had Last.fm, SoundCloud. Nowadays we have Bandcamp. A lot of different platforms came and went throughout the years. These platforms allowed musicians to promote and sell their work directly to the world audience, skipping the middleman. Also, hosting for websites became a lot cheaper. Creative Commons licenses became more popular and widely adopted as a way to safely share and reuse music without having to deal with label bureaucracy. Music groups in the demo scene started distributing MP3s instead of the source tracker formats, and all of these factors caused a boom in new labels putting out music for free. The term net label and netaudio were coined around this time, around 1999, 2000. We had reached a near zero cost to produce, publish, and distribute music across the world. A lot of the artists who were being ignored by music industry and didn't really care about keeping their tracks behind a paywall, they started using this new model to get their sounds distributed across the world, gain a following, and then try to figure out a way to monetize their work that didn't depend on a major label just signing them based on out of a demo. For many people, the net audio movement was considered the democratization of music publishing. Anyone could now put out their new album out straight away without any wait time, not having to wait for a random label head to approve that it might be viable to sell to make them money instead of you, the artist. A lot of these net labels did not have any relation to the original track music scene or our demo scene. I'm talking about the net labels, these new labels that popped up, not the commercial labels. So net label is kind of a side parenthesis to the demo scene. It's related, but it's not directly a part of the demo scene for the reasons that I explained. A lot of artists, not knowing what the demo scene is, adopted the net label model and started putting out music free for download and distribution. To this day, demos are more appreciated when they have original content and made using original tools. A lot of the demos still use third-party tools and assets. It's common to use Unity or Unreal Engine. Still frowned upon by some people, but it's relatively common. People use textures and models, assets from Unity Store, even samples of music, whole parts of music themselves. Some demos even steal complete concept ideas from some music videos or commercials. Most demo party combos accept these entries as long as they are properly credited, and it's usually fine despite some controversy. You can see an example in Agenda Circling Forth by Fairlight and CNCD. They sampled the music and didn't really credit it properly, and then when it was found, it was like, oh, they're ripping music. It's not even fully original music. But some of these works are considered tokens on the importance of the remix culture being allowed and how important it is in any art medium. And if you don't know what the hell the remix culture is, I recommend you seeing it. Everything is a Remix. It's a documentary, and it's very good for context on the importance of the remix culture in bringing forth any art medium in some way, because human art is based around copying and changing the stuff that we see. And if you have too strict copyright that doesn't allow you to copy and reuse anything from anyone, even ideas, you stifle creativity and you end up locked in this bar. Very good documentary. I recommend you checking it out. Of course, when things are not properly credited, it's just considered theft, and it's usually not fine to submit it to demo compos. You can see an example of this in Voyage by Demoasis, was released at Assembly 2016. They reused a bunch of shader toy shaders without mentioning the original creators, and they got quite a backlash because of it and disqualified at the competition. Also worth excuse me. Also worth mentioning to this discussion is that there are a lot of instances where demoscene content was used in commercial context without proper permission. Some music artists stealing different demoscene music and trying to publish it as their own work. This is one of the most common things that happened. A more blatant use was Timbaland's sampling of Acid Jazz Evening without crediting or sample clearing it. Ended up being used on an Nelly Furtado track that became a hit single. People recognize it, and a lot of comic things ensued as Timbaland tried to deny that he ripped a clearly ripped track. Then we had a media company that did a music video for Giorgio Moroder, a legend in Italo disco and electronic music in general. They used visuals stolen from Andromeda Software Development from one of their winner demos from Assembly, and they just made a music video out of it for Giorgio Moroder without consent from Andromeda Software Development. More recently, certain interactive media companies also use shaders from ShaderToy as screenshots to promote products without permission from the authors. This is also a blatant use of demoscene content to used in a commercial sense. So without permission, of course. So overall, the relation of demoscene with copyright definitely has changed throughout the years. I think nowadays there is more respect in the demoscene for crediting the sources that you use. In terms of recognizing them instead of hiding them, it's no longer socially accepted to repurpose someone's work without credit or request. There used to be a time that people preferred to hide their sources, not to get called upon. But I think it's easier for everyone if you just credit and your source, your inspiration, if you just name it, so people can judge accordingly. They don't feel lied to when they finally realize that this was taken from a sample CD or that this was an idea stolen from this commercial. Anyways, it's no longer socially accepted to repurpose someone's work without credit or request, but some demo sceners still do it on their demos or tracks now and again. Sometimes for fun, for example, see the Farjan series of demos. Sometimes for the technical aspect, you can see, for example, Bad Apple videos. Sometimes out of laziness to find the original alternatives to the song. You just see a song, you like it, let's use this song because I'm too lazy to find something similar that I can use for free. But it can also just be out of respect. Sometimes it's a sort of homage or tribute to a certain person or group or thing. A lot of cover work. I can remember 64K in particular, Paul's Boutique, which was a homage to the group. Other times, just because you need a sample saying bass or some lyrics from ABBA on your demo for the track or the demo to make some sense, for the silliness of it, for the countersense of it, for the cultural clash of it all. Keep in mind that copyright was invented in the 1700s to try to protect authors against copies of books. There was no concept of internet back then. There have been some attempts to modernize copyright laws, most of them sadly manipulated by music and film industry lobbies, just trying to maximize their profits. They don't care about independent artists, and they definitely don't care, probably don't even know about this underground digital arts culture that we have that is trying to push limits of the computers for fun and for art's sake. So yeah, shaky territory with the copyright. I just remember the name of the groups that I was forgetting. And the Beastie Boys, those were the makers of Paul's Boutique. So shaky relationship with copyright throughout the years, but I think there is a certain amount of respect for crediting things, or more respect now than there used to be back in the late 80s when the demo scene started being more prominent. So yeah, I think we came a long way, but there's still copyright violations happening in the demo scene, and also demo scene has been copyright violated in some instances. But there are also a lot of good reasons on why you should reappropriate something, even if it's not lawfully permitted to use that in a commercial way, because demos are not commercial in that aspect. We're not monetizing them. For the most part. Sure, there are demo parties, and demo parties sometimes, the competitions sometimes have monetary prizes, but it's an insignificant amount compared to the work that you put into the demo. Of course, claim can still be made that if there was any money made, something should be trickling down to an original copyright owner. I have to agree with that. If you make a demo, if you make money out of a demo that has a commercial track, you should be paying a percentage of that to the original creator, because they made the music for that. But nowadays you have a lot of alternatives where you can buy your assets online. You can buy music that is free for use. You can buy 3D models. You can buy things. So why steal something? Why rip something when you can use those things that are available? Some of them are for free. Some of them have a symbolic price on it. There's still some reasons why you would want to use a specific copyrighted thing, but I think overall that use has been dwindling, and there is a bit more of respect. It's more as a tribute and not trying to steal something from those artists, if it makes any sense. Of course, some artists and some labels might still take offense to that, but it is what it is. Copyright is weird. Anyways, that's the video that I wanted to record. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know what you think on the comments below. If I missed something crucial about copyright evolution in the demo scene, if you have any other specific references that make sense, please post them on the comments below. Would love to hear about them. If you like the work that I've been doing this kind of videos for the demo scene, and not only, don't forget to sponsor me through my Patreon, patreon.com/psenough. Donate whatever you can afford. €1, €2, €5, anything is welcome. Anything is useful to pay the bills at the end of the day and help me keep motivated to do more of these kind of videos. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.